Roadman, welcome back. Today I want to talk about the best places to go and ride your bike. Sarah.
Anthony, this is one of the biggest questions that we get week on week, particularly at this time of year when people are looking forward to all the adventures they're going to go on in 2025, and they're thinking, okay, well, I've got a couple of weeks off. I want to go to a new place. I want to go on an adventure. Where are the best locations to go to? How can I get as much bang for my buck? How can I get that sense of adventure? How can I go and push myself to the limits?
Well, unlike everyone else who's, I'm assuming, broke their New Year resolution at this point, did I say it lasts till the end of January?
I think it was a couple of days ago that's like when it just goes out the window.
Okay, well, I haven't had a chance to break mine yet because my New Year resolution is about just trying to ride the bike in different places because I keep going back to the same places.
You're a creature of habit.
Yeah, look, there's good reason for it as well because, you know, anyone listens to the podcast knows I love going to Girona. Mallorca is probably second on the list. Maybe Tenerife or something is up there on the list as well. The reason, like, you go back to Girona, you know all the cool routes to ride, you know all the cool restaurants, you even know to text you to pick you up from the airport. It's all so seamless, but I've fallen into this habit now of I'm almost not even excited to go away because it feels like I'm not going away. I've been there so many times before. So my 2025 resolution was to ride the bike in different places as much as possible throughout the year.
Yeah, and I think we're definitely going to achieve that because we're going to partner up with Le Tap series over the next couple of months, and we're going to be going to, as far as I can tell, we haven't got the exact locations down yet, but all corners of the globe.
Yeah, and
it's going to be great.
It is pretty cool. I was kind of convinced that Le Tap was a good idea after they had the Le Tap Ireland event, and I had a bunch of friends going down. They just had brilliant feedback from it. But what was interesting was as well, like obviously I know the roads around Ireland really, really well, but the route they picked is probably the most iconic route in Ireland. So then it kind of got me going, maybe they have the most iconic route in wherever, Peru, Brazil, where all the wild and weird places there is. So it's not even about just getting to the different country for me. When I started planning out like our bike packing trip last year, we picked some terrible routes. Like we won like 3-4 days in Montenegro along the coast, stuck in traffic for the entire 3-4 days, and just but being a cool place isn't enough. You need a cool route in a cool place.
Not only that, you also did it the complete opposite way. You went from east to west.
Into the headwind.
So you block headwind for the entire 2.5 weeks, which that is my absolute idea of hell. Anyone who listens to the show knows that, okay, you're basically a high performance cyclist. I am a leisure cyclist, and I'm kind of newish enough to the sport the last couple of years. And this year, for my New Year's resolution, well, I actually started it a little bit sooner, about 3 or 4 months ago. I challenged myself to actually start to take the sport that I love a little bit more seriously and see how far I can actually go. But I'm very much still down the back of the bunch, struggling up the climbs, and that's what it seems that these kind of big, massive sportifs and fondos are catering for. Now, there is that really competitive point at the top. I mean, how are you feeling?
Well, I think that's changed a lot. Yeah. So I'm still this is one of the challenges we have because we wanted to go away and do this as like almost the family holiday. Yeah. But then how do you get an event that caters for like our two very different levels? And it's not like I'm absolutely hopping off the ground, but I still haven't let go of that competitive fire. As much as I want to talk about cycling's participatory and we need to like encourage a wide range of people and be inclusive. Like I love nothing more than like the 15, 20 best lads in the country meeting up in an industrial estate and just kicking lumps out of each other, telling no one about it. The results don't go anywhere. It's just like, who's the best on this day?
It's like
I
Fight
love
Club.
that. Yeah, I love that. Like I loved last year even doing Ross Moon, and one of my favorite bits is coming shoulder to shoulder at one of the lads I've raced with for years on the finishing circuit. And he's like, Easter Monday, banging elbows with the boys. What else would you be doing? And it was like, it's 60k an hour in the rain.
I'm the opposite. I'm at the food stops chatting to everybody, being like, oh, where are you from? How are you finding the day? That's not your skill set.
I'm like that Eminem. If you see me out, do not come and talk to me. But so I'm not quite ready to start doing sportifs. I'll be totally honest with you. And when you've raced at any level, like definitely from, I would say, Cat 2 upwards, the idea of doing a sportif feels a little bit naff. It's like, it feels a bit dentisty, a bit, oh, this isn't for me, this is a different world. But I've seen a real trend shift in the last couple of years. Two things have happened almost simultaneously. We've seen this erosion of the cycling calendars in Ireland, UK, USA. A portion of those have gone to gravel, and that's become really, your Dylan Johnsons at the front end of gravel races, when they typically would have been just at the front end of Cat 1 races in the US. So that's made gravel really fast. But the other ancillary benefit to it as well is it's transformed the look and feel of these fondos and sportifs. So the front end of these, like of one of my old teammates from Aqua Blue, like Matteo Segala, he's going out all around the world and doing these things. And he said the level's super high at the front end of these. So now you have the ability to race in other countries in the world on closed roads at a really high level, which in the sun, which ticks a few boxes for me, and it's kind of getting me motivated again about road for the first time in honestly quite a few years.
Yeah, the closed road is going to be really interesting, because I know that if you look through the events, if you go on the website, you'll see all of the countries that the events are in.
Yeah, to be honest now, I haven't gone on the website. Where are they?
They're everywhere. They're Europe, North America, South America, Asia, the Middle East. There's events in 21 countries. There's actually 30 events over the course of 2025, so you're completely spoiled for choice. So you can go anywhere in the world. You can go long distance, or you can stay in your neighborhood and do one.
Okay, so an interesting question, and this is to preempt having to do a follow-up podcast on this, because I know someone's going to be like, how do you pick an event? It's a question I get from clients all the time. So whether it's you're targeting a tap race or you're targeting a gravel race, how do you plan out that annual training plan around 2 or 3 pillar target events?
Yeah, because as I said, you'll go onto the website, you'll see all of these amazing countries that you can go to, but there are going to be some events that may not suit the type of rider you are, or might just be, if you're new to cycling like I am,
hold your horses. We have a system for this now. Okay. Right. So this is a system that I've been starting to roll out with clients this year. So there's a couple of filtration levels to it. We've done this with your training unbeknownst to yourself. So Dan Lorang, who's the head of performance at Bora Red Bull, gave me this idea of you starting with, when you're looking at your macro or your annual training plan, you're starting with a blank calendar. And then you're not starting by filling in cycling events. Even if you're a pro rider, you're not starting by going Paris-Nice. You're starting by going my wedding.
Yes.
You're starting by going my graduation, my son's birthday. What's the non-negotiable stuff that has to go into the calendar? Because there's no point saying we're going to plan a peak, but then the peak is like 2 weeks before the peak. You need to take a week off the bike because you've a wedding anniversary coming up, or you have a work trip away. So put in all the non-negotiables in your calendar. Then you're going to be left with a few blank spaces of periods that make sense where you can do a proper base, build, peak cycle. Now, when you do that, the next part, which I've encouraged clients to do, is a power profile test.
Yuck.
So if you don't know what a power profile test is, it's 10 seconds full gas, 1 minute full gas, 5 minutes full gas, 20 minutes full gas. So you're going to take the results of that. If you go over to our website, roadmancycling.com, there's a little section that says toolkit, totally free. You can go in there and there's a power profile section. Plug in your results into that, and then it's going to show you what type of rider you are. Like, where do you have a competitive strength relative to your peers? Are you a good climber? Are you good at endurance? Are you a good sprinter? Now, based on the results of that, now you're starting to narrow down and go, okay, some of these events don't suit logistically for me to get to. Some of these events don't suit my skill set. Like, I'm really not a good climber. I'm a Cat 5 climber, but I'm a Cat 2 sprinter, because you're going to enjoy an event more if you're moving well at it. And then the last couple of filters I'd add into that is obviously, budget, but everyone's a different budget, figure it out yourself. But I'd add in heat into that as well. Like, I'll go through maybe at the end a little bit. You can prepare a small bit for heat, but even if it suits you, even if for timing wise, physiologically suits you, if you don't like riding in extreme heat or extreme cold, that again is going to rule out some of these events. And when you go through that kind of filtration system, starting with the wide funnel and narrowing it down, I think you're probably going to end up with 2 to 5 events that suit you. And then it's trying to rope friends in.
Yeah, try and convince everyone.
If you're going to have more crack with your mates there, you're going to have double more crack if you rope your mates into doing an event that suits you and doesn't suit them.
But that is so true. I love what you say about really having a look at you know, the client, like I'm just was looking earlier at L'Étape du Tour de France. Okay, so this is probably one of their key events.
Queen stage, is
yeah,
it?
there's over like 15 or 16,000 cyclists do it every year, and they actually copy. I think this year it's stage 19 of this year's Tour de France. So it's the exact route that the pro cyclists will be doing. But that is 131 kilometers and there's 4,500 meters of climbing. Now, I would be avoiding that one. Personally, I'd be avoiding that one like the plague. That does not sound like fun to me. Then you've got options like the one in Denmark, 300 kilometers long. Now there's 2,500 meters of climbing, but it's spread over the 300 kilometers. So potentially for somebody like me, that would be a little bit more suited. And then, as you said, Anthony, to go back to this kind of heat training, we've got Dubai, we've got Rio, we have them in all of the super, super warm countries that you're going to be out there baking. So, you know, how do you even prepare for that kind of heat when you're doing a massive big long day out on the bike like this?
Yeah, like I had, maybe you can link it up in the comments below. I had one of I think he's the president of Core temperature sensors on the podcast, and we talked about heat training. So there's a couple of benefits to heat training. One, you can get a physiological adaptation from heat training. But two, which is maybe more relevant for this conversation, is you can acclimate before you head away to one of these trips. And you can do that by gradually exposing yourself in the build up to warmer training conditions. Now, I break down exactly what that looks like and what heat training zones is totally new to most people listening to the podcast. But heat training zones are exactly like your heart rate or your power training zones. You need to spend time at each of these core temperatures and you get a different associated benefit. Core does that super well, and he breaks down the podcast how to do it. But by spending more time in that, you'd have seen Remco in his vlogs where he's like wearing a painter suit on the turbo trainer because he has a heat session to do. Sweat's dripping off him and no one knows what's going on. You've seen me coming in last year getting ready for races with the heating on and all my clothes on, dripping sweat like a lunatic. But it does a couple of things when you do that. You're going to start increasing your blood plasma volume, and you're going to enhance your sweat response rate and your body's ability to regulate temperature a little better. So there's some benefits that are going to make the day much more enjoyable if you do choose a hot event. But
that's it.
Again, look, we're not going to dive into full heat training protocol on that. Just go watch that podcast.
Yeah, I think your point there is really good. Don't rule anything out. You know, there are things that you can do in the lead up to the events to make your body more prepared for that particular.
Well, some people just love the heat, though.
Yeah, I think you're okay in the heat.
I like the heat.
Yeah, I don't think that I'm used to the old Irish rain here. I think coming up to the events, there's going to be so many questions for people. It's not just about like heat training. It's about training as well, but there's also like nutrition, hydration. There's, you know, what kit should you wear?
But look, we've got access on the podcast to, you know, world tour coaches, physiologists, that type of stuff. So I think over the coming months, you know, as we're approaching these events and other events that we're planning for the rest of the year, the interviews that I'm doing with these experts, they'll have one eye on preparation for these type of events. So hopefully that's a valuable resource. And I didn't even break the news to Wes yet. I think I'm going to bring back a vlog for the events. Do you remember when I started, before the podcast, if anyone's an OG, let me know in the comments, before I ever started the Roadman podcast, I'd come up with the idea of creating like a daily show. And at the time, I didn't think it was going to be a podcast. I thought it was going to be a daily YouTube video like Casey Neistat. So there's a few daily YouTube videos out there. I think I lasted till like, I'm going to say April.
I don't know what this business was. I was very heavily involved and it almost broke me.
And Bruce was even in our dog. So we're going to bring back the vlogs for a limited time only for some of these events. So it should be a bit of fun.
It's going to be an amazing year. What I want to know from everyone who's tuned in today is, where have you done one of these Étape series tours already? Because that will help us decide where we should go, or where is your absolute dream location to go. And we're going to figure all that out and announce it on the podcast over the next couple of weeks.
Folks, thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to the channel because we've loads of upcoming content that's going to help you prepare for your target event, whether it's strength training, nutrition, hydration, heat training, whatever it is. Hit that subscribe button. And there's another video up here, which I know you're going to love, which is going to get you kickstarted right now. Thanks for tuning in.